I'm gonna, as is Hashem, talk about a certain ha'ara that yesterday I received from a few of the Talmidei Chachamim. They wanted to know, yesterday, I mentioned that the idea of Yad Nichvis Boy is in a chumrah that I'm not really even sure how much the Mishabura is really being machshiv. I'm not really sure if the Mishabura, to say the extent, is he's giving a Mar Malkim and he's telling you to ayin over there, but I'm not sure to what extent the Mishabura really is machshiv the chumrah of Yad Nichvis Boy. Yad Nichvis Boy, we explained, is when something is incredibly hot, klisheni, which is the exact numbers are not clear, but it certainly has to be very, very, very hot. And there would be a chumrah to not put anything in Yad Nichvis. Generally, it's not going to be such a matzi dika and haga, halacha, because anyways, we don't put things in a klisheni simply because we're afraid of Kallus Bishul. And even things like tavlinim, Shlomo Zalman told us that we have to be scared. So all that's left is basically water, oil, and maybe cooked liquids, not so many things. So I was saying yesterday that it's certainly, in a klishlishi, you certainly don't have to worry about the chumrah. And even in a klisheni, you certainly don't have to worry about it when the liquids are previously cooked. And when it comes to water, it's a chumrah. If somebody wants to be machmir, should be machmir. Person saying over shir, I mentioned yesterday, he would say over, there's a chumrah of the chayadam. That's how he would say it. He wouldn't say it's a chumrah of the mishabura. The lashon should be, there's a chumrah of the chayadam, that the chayadam was machmir on Yad Nichves. And the Maisa, today I think I'm going to change the nusach because it was brought to my attention a mafurish bir halacha. Now, a bir halacha that Mamish discusses our topic over here in Siman Shin Yutes, and this is the 500th shir Dovi, and that means that if we're up to the 500th shir in Hilchos Shabbos, so then we did boyer by now. I boyers in Shin Yutes, and we're in Shin Yutes. But you know that boyer was basically the first malacha that we did. So if we get this one wrong, so then I think we have to go back now and chazer. So we can't even do the next 500 shirim, Dovi. We're going to have to chazer the last 499. Right now, Dovi, I don't think you're going to. I don't think so. I don't think many of us are holding by that right now to chazer the last 499 shirim. I'm not sure. So let's see if perhaps that which it says in Shin Yutes is not a kasha on what we said yesterday, but a raya brura to everything we said yesterday. And therefore, I think that I'm going to change the nusach, because yesterday, the way I said it, the nusach is that there's a chumrah of the chay adam. I'm not even sure. We'll see if there's such a chay adam. Let's see. How's that possible? The chay is the first chay adam, right? That the chay adam talks about Yad Nichvis Boy. And even Rabbi Brownstein, you've come back to join us for this, because you know that something very big is about to happen. Well, you ready to roll, Levi? You ready? That's it. You have your Yad Nichvis coffee? Hey, I wonder who called me yesterday. Levi. Okay. So it says like this in the Bir Halacha and Siman Shin Yutes. The Bir Halacha says he's discussing these evil people. Boy, is he not happy about this? And they take, this is one of the Bir Halacha's real big screams in all of Hilchos Shabbos. This is in Siman Shin Yutes, in Dibra Maskul Chayiv, in Siv Daled. And he talks over here about his issue that was seems to be a prevalent issue in Radin. The Ilu, we have smartphones, and in Radin they had psha. That was like the big issue in Radin, Rabbi Isai. So what was the big Radin shtetl issue? The issue was Lacharsman, these people, Maharbe, Noyigin, Shemechinen, Michael B'Shabbos Kodesh B'Shachris, Hanase Miragle Behema, the legs of farm animals. Okay? They take it and they make this yummy dish. It's for Shalosh Shudis. Lanicha Asuda Shlishis. Yummy. I'm getting hungry just thinking about this. Yesh man, Shinich Shalom Bekami Sren. But you think it's so easy just to make pcha juice? What they do is Amuchach Levire Kama issues. And he goes on to discuss three major issues that they are over on. So he says, first of all, they take garlic and they take onions and they cut it up very, very small. He says, with that, they're over on two isurim. Number one is they're over on bayr. It's not their fault. They're taking the bad from the good, but they have no choice. So the answer is yeah, but they're not doing it for immediate use. And that's Mavur and Siman Shin Chaf Aleph he brings, that you're not allowed to do it for the next meal, when the next meal 5 hours away and 6 hours away. That's number one. Number two is they're cutting it up extremely small, dak, and Mamela, they're over on Toichin. Not only he says some hold that Toichin dak is usher, even when it's immediate. Kavachayim over here, where they're doing it not la'alter. I feel la'alter is a problem, but certainly these guys, they were cutting up the onion and the garlic. If you listen well, Rabbi say, you're going to hear a very good recipe for pcha. So listen very good. But they were doing it a little bit too early. 4 hours in advance, 5 hours in advance. They were cutting up the garlic. They were cutting up the onions very, very small, very early. That's problem number one. Problem number three, I'm going to skip for a moment problem number two, because problem number two is what we want to talk about, Gil Mayer. But problem number three is, Sheboirin at Sumis min abasar, they don't like crunchy pcha. So what they do is they take out the bones of the legs of the farm animals, where you should know that's where there's lots and lots of little bones over there. The Rebbeinu Shalom made the person and the animal also, that the akev that holds up everything. There's many, many bones in the foot, at least many parts of bones. And like the Ikvus of the Mashiach, we have to hold up all those which are on top of us for all the last thousands of years. Then they take out these bones and they throw them l'chutz. He says, and that's boirer, because it's lachas man. Unless they would take the bones from these murdered cows and suck on them ksas and then throw it. Says Yishladin, maybe it's a min echad, but it's not mistaber. And therefore he says, that's the major issurim that they're being over on. They're being over on toichin, they're being over on boirer. He says in the middle, the second taina is that they're being over on bishul. What are they being over on bishul? If the roitev is hot and the yad sadadis by, and they put inside there the garlic and the onions, it seems to be that, I guess they were making this dish, I guess right at the time of the Shabbos lunch, they would take off the chleis, whatever type of chamin, cholent, or whatever they had, and they would take this hot juice or whatever, and they would make some type of a dish, which was for shalosh shudas. Back upon him, what do? They take the boiling hot roitiv, and they put it on the onion and the garlic. Yesh b'seh mishum bishul. That's a kli rishon. They're taking from a kli rishon and pouring it straight from a kli rishon onto onion and garlic. Shemesh hamayim. That's an issa deraisa, according to all the places. Ve'afilu, and even if they would put it in a kli sheni, yesh machmirim b'zeh. Some are machmir even in a kli sheni. What do I mean? Because says the Mishabrua Bayos and Siman Shin Yeches that even though the Gemara says kli sheni is not mevashel, but we know that the sheet of the Erev, which is gebracht in Shulchan Aruch, which is the Minig Yisrael, says the Ramah, is that we're machmir on everything in Kali Bishul. We're assuming that everything is Kali Bishul, including that is onion and garlic. And this was the minig that the Aruch HaShulchan was referring to, that people do. And he said it's mutter for them to put the onion and the garlic in the klisheni, because klisheni is not mevashel. And he said onion and garlic is not a Kali Bishul, and therefore you don't have to be machmir. That's what the Aruch HaShulchan was coming to be makel on. Comes again the Mishnah Berurah to scream about that. Now you know why the Aruch HaShulchan was screaming so loud fakir. Comes again the Mishnah Berurah and says they're wrong. We are machmir. First of all, these people, they're putting it in a kli rishon, they're pouring from a kli rishon, that's for sure forbidden. He says, and even if they put it in a kli sheni, says the Mishnah Berurah, that's not acceptable, because the Ramah and the Shita of the Re'im is not like that. And they assume that everything is Kali Bishul. We're worried that everything is Kali Bishul. Then says the Mishnah Berurah, ubefrat. And especially, they put the onion and the garlic, which yesh machmirin. Some are machmir in a klisheni. The Hainu, the Mishnah Berurah seems to learn that you should be machmir on that. The like Aruch HaShulchan. And you have to assume onion and garlic are Kali Bishul. And befrat, if they're going to take the onion and the garlic and we're machmir on a klisheni, and they're going to put it in a klisheni that yad nichbis by, then bivadei yesh li zayir by. If you take the onion and the garlic and you put it into a klisheni, so then certainly yesh machmirim. And some people, they even put it when it's yad nichbis. And yad nichbis, for sure you should be careful about onion and garlic. And he says, and this is what I wrote over there in Shin Yuchet Sivhei, and ayin over there in the Mishnah Berurah Sivkot Memches. And this is a davar matzi ma'id by anoshim ha'oichel mesamayich lazeh. They have it hot in the morning, and they put inside of it vinegar, and they put inside of it breadcrumbs. Delicious. V'alkein tzarich lizoyer mizeh me'oid. Afilu in a klisheni, when the right of his cham shayad nichvis boy. You have to be careful. They're taking this boiling hot klisheni, and they're putting inside this boiling hot klisheni. It's a yad nichvis boy, and they're putting inside breadcrumbs, and they're putting inside garlic, and they're putting inside onions. Shoymei shamayim umanachim lizoyer. He says you should even be careful when it's yad soy ledis boy not to put things in there. Ad kan the Mishnah Berurah. This Mishnah Berurah Abaisai is a raya berurah to everything that we said yesterday. What is the Mishnah Berurah saying over here? The Mishnah Berurah is saying categorically clear that I am not machmir on yad nichvis bay. The only time the Mishnah Berurah is saying that he's worried about yad nichvis bay is when you have onion and garlic, which the Mishnah Berurah says you should be machmir on anyways, mitzad safek kalei bishul, mitzad that we don't know anything about kalei bishul, what's yeah and what's not, and therefore says the Mishnah Berurah over there and over here, we're machmir to assume everything's kalei bishul, says the Mishnah Berurah, that's only a yesh machmir. That's a yesh machmirim. It's 2 days brought in Shulchan Aruch. But when you put it together with the yad nichvis bay, when you go and put it together, that the water is in the klisheni is mamish boiling. So then, what's the only reason why there are those that argue and say, let's say onion, garlic, other things are not a problem of kalei bishul, because they say, no, kalei bishul, onion, garlic, we don't have to be machmir more than what we're worried about. We have to be machmir more than the Gemara. But, says the Mishnah Berurah, yesh machmirim in general. And even if you just, with the machmirim, but when it's yad nichvis bay, when you take something which is boiling, not mitzad so much the chumrah of yad nichvis in general, but because now for sure you have to worry that onion and garlic is already going to be considered a kalei bishul. Lo mevoi that I, Mishnah Berurah, hold anyways you shouldn't put onion and garlic into a klisheni, because I'm worried even if it's in a yad saledis bay that maybe it's what? Maybe it's a kalei bishul, says the Mishnah Berurah. But one thing for sure, don't put it into the klisheni when it's yad nichvis. When it's yad nichvis, that's already extreme. What do you see in this Mishnah Berurah? Number one, you see in the Mishnah Berurah that even putting onion and garlic in a regular klisheni, that the Mishnah Berurah ends with the words, mehanochoin lizoyer. It's the right thing to be machmir, not like the Aruch HaShulchan. In other words, the Mishnah Berurah holds it's the right thing to not put onion and garlic into a klisheni of a yad saledis bay. But when it comes to a klisheni, which is yad nichvis bay, then definitely don't put in the things that we're machmir on in general in a klisheni. So if you read this Mishnah Berurah, what did the Mishnah Berurah just say? He's not machmir on yad nichvis. The only time what the Mishnah Berurah did say is on the things that I'm anyways machmir on, like onion and garlic and shar dvarim, like breadcrumbs that I told you anyways you shouldn't put into a klisheni. But when it's yad nichvis bay, you better be machmir. Those are the words in the Mishnah Berurah. And therefore, if you want to know what's the sheet of the Mishnah Berurah tells you, ayin over there, what I said in Sif Memches. And then when you look in Sif Memches, what are you going to do? You're going to listen to the Mishnah Berurah, because mitzvah l'shmoyel divrei chachamim. And the Mishnah Berurah tells you over there, go and ayin in the Chayadam. So we're going to listen to the great Mishnah Berurah, our Rebbe, and over here in these versions of the Chayadam, in the 297th page of the Chayadam, he brings down like this. In Sif Beis, over here, Sif Dalet. It just moved. Kli sheni, eino mevashel. Listen to how the Chayadam set up his sefer. Kli sheni is eino mevashel. So, afilu yad saledis bay, even if it's boiling hot. Omnam, there are things that are mispachel in the kli sheni. Ve'ein anu bekiyim, and we don't know. So therefore, yesh lahachmir, not to put in shum davar. Don't put anything in. Be machmir. Don't put anything into a kli sheni. Because Shaykh Bishul feel kli sheni calls man yad saledis bay. Therefore, he starts talking about salt, which Hashem we'll get to after Shabbos. And then he says, "V'lachein yesh lizoyer bitzalim." Don't put onions b'Shabbos shleilitim b'kaira. V'kol shekain kavachleimer. Don't pour on them from a kli rishon, because that's Isser Medina. This is only Isser Michumra, but that's Isser Medina to pour on from a kli rishon. Says the Chayadam, v'muraseya kol kachat shad nichvis bay. But if it's so hot that just scald your finger if you put it in even for a second, nearly the lekule alma mevashel. Then what I think is Kulei Am are going to hold that's Mevashel. Rabbi say, I'm going to tell you a Chiddush. And I think this is what the Mishnah Berurah is referring to. I think that the Chayadam, he brings over here Ayin Chiburi and Shari Tzedek and Perik Beis, and we had many kashas yesterday on the Chayadam. How can he bring a Chumrah from Hilchos Maasros that no one in Hilchos Shabbos brought? How can he bring a Chumrah when the Rebaz himself makes a Chilik? How can he bring a Chumrah, Rabbi say, when no one ever, not the Rif, not the Rambam, not the Rosh, not the Tur, not the Shulchan Aruch, not no one, not the Mogen Avram, not the Taz, not any of the Poskim ever mentioned that Yad Nichvis is a man da Amr and Klisheni. And this is why the wonderful Sefer of the Chazon Ish, he says, Yad nichvis by. How could you be machmer and yad nichvis by? His lashon over here is, he says, something that the Rif, the Rambam, the Rosh, the Torah, the Shulchan Aruch, the Smak, nobody brings this. And then basically, if you test the Chazon Ish says, therefore, you don't have to worry about yad nichvis by. And not only that, I wonder out loud, maybe even the Chayyadam realized this. And if you read the Chayyadam again slowly, all the Chayyadam was saying was, Klisheni is not mevashal. However, there are things we're not sure about. Those things we're not sure about, therefore we don't put anything in a klisheni. That's our chumrah. But you should know, Berega, the klisheni, is yad nichvis, it's boiling. And we have a raya in Hilchos Maisris that boiling of a klisheni has certain nafkaminas. So then when you put these two together, now this is explicit in the Mishnah Berurah, in the Chayyadam, Mekenzach Shtuppen Epis. If you put these two together, when you have something that is taka, a kali bishul potentially, and you put it into something which is boiling hot, then for sure you have to worry that such a thing is considered a kali bishul, and that's all that the Chayyadam is saying. So Chayyadam is saying, don't you dare put onion and garlic into a klisheni if it's yad nichvis. If it's not yad nichvis, don't do it. But don't you dare do it if it's yad nichvis. That's what the Mishnah Berurah is saying. That's what the Chayyadam is saying. And the Betzai, it's mefurish beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Mishnah Berurah did not hold me'ikar adin of Yad Nichvis, but he wants you to know Yad Nichvis because he's worried about Yad Nichvis when it comes to regular shar dvarim that you're going to be putting into a klisheni. And this is why my son-in-law showed me today that Rabbi Yashiv is brought in the Sefer Hilchos Shabbos b'Shabbos to have said that the din of the Chayyadam is b'toiras a chumrah. It's only a chumrah because it's mashma that Mishar Poiskin that it's mutter, and therefore you should try to be machman yid nefes. So halacha l'maisa. Then it's like this: the Aruch HaShulchan said onion and garlic you could be makel on in a klisheni. That certainly you should not do. You certainly shouldn't do it if the klisheni is boiling, and I think it's called shmoiling. However, if it's not shmoiling, it's just yad saledes, so then you still shouldn't put onion and garlic and also breadcrumbs. However, if you want to know what about water in Yad Nichvis by? It's a chumrah. It's a chumrah. If you're holding by chumras in Hilchos Shabbos, it's a good thing to be machmir. So there's an Indian to be machmir, but not more than that. And certainly a previously cooked liquid, you do not need to be machmir inside Yad Nichvis. What is Yad Nichvis? Certainly you don't have to be machmir. Like you see over here, like the way the Orcha Shabbos writes, it's such big chumras over here and chedushim. I don't know. He's machmer and Yad Nichvis, and he tells you have to worry because who knows the difference between Yad Nichvis and Yad Saledis? Givalt, Rabbi said, we know the difference between Yad Saledis and Yad Nichvis. If you put your finger in and it gets scalded miyad, that's Yad Nichvis. If you put your finger in and it won't get scalded miyad, that's not Yad Nichvis. So we're anyways going to be machmer on everything inside a klisheni. Anyways, we generally are nagas to be machmir. So the only nafkamina of this shaila is what? Is water. So when it comes to water, no, there's a sheina chumra out there. Does the Mishnah hold it that chumra? He tells you there is a potential such a chumra, but he wants you to know Yad Nichvis in order to enforce your kpeda when it comes to shumin and betzalim. So this biur halacha is absolutely mefurish that the Mishnah Berurah did not paskin Yad Nichvis by. Is that crystal clear, Rabbi Yisai? Which other food? Many of the kids make a very big deal about Yad Nichvis by. Why? The answer is because Kulam Miroyim Echad Nitnu. There was one Kitzur Sefer many years ago that made a big deal out of it, and every other Sefer copied out of that one. But you see from the Melech of all of Klal Yisrael, Rabbi Yashiv, that he said it's only a teres chumra be'alma, and now you see it's mefurish in the biur halacha that the only time that he was concerned be'emes about Yad Nichvis was when you anyways are machmir. Everyone in this room is anyways going to be machmir about not putting breadcrumbs in, about not putting onion in and garlic. That the Mishnah Berurah is basically saying, don't you dare do it if it's Yad Nichvis. That was what he was coming to say. In Yad Nichvis and a Klishleini, Rabbi Lieberman, you certainly do not have to be machmir because Moshe says it doesn't even exist. So therefore, there's no makim for the chumrah in a Klishlishi at all. Any other questions? Industrial urns are crazy hot. The urn that I have in my kitchen is an industrial urn. No, I don't. I mean before it broke. You mean the ones like in the shuls and things like that? Like the yeshiva, right? Those big ones, the big ones, and they're crazy hot. I hear. So those ones, make sure that don't you dare put onion and garlic in there. Kolzman it's yatzaledis. Kolzman that it's yad nichves. Once it is yatzaledis, still don't do it. But it's not a gather of don't you dare. Any other foods besides onion and garlic and breadcrumbs? Yeah, well, Rabbi Fishy, we're machmer on everything in a klisheni because we don't know. So we're machmer on everything that you can't put inside a klisheni because we don't know. But the point is that on things like onion and garlic, that really got him nervous because that has a, something that he was nervous was mamish like with Yad Nichbet. Basically, the Chayodim was machmir on all foods because we don't know. But when it's Yad Nichbet, you better be machmir. That's together really. So it's really the first 5-6 seconds of the life of the cup of the klisheni. Maybe it depends if it's an industrial urn or non-industrial. Is that crystal clear, Rabbi Sai? I need feedback just to make sure it's clear because there was a topic. Rabbi Silverman, only one finger. Where's the other finger over there? Oh, thank you. Okay. Levi, is it clear? Is it clear? Okay. Thank you very much. Let's go weiter, Rabbi Sai. Could you just turn the air conditioning on? On. It's on. Yeah, but it's 140 degrees out there. Can you just turn it on to like 20? Thank you. Okay. No, I have a whole bottle. Culture. Now, no, Fishy. This cheshbon is only by when the example was onion, garlic. That was the example of the mistake that people were making. But we are machmir on klisheni that we don't put anything inside a klisheni. All right. Just one moment. I just want to the air conditioning. Okay, everybody said now you know the shear is live. Okay. No, I saw that Duvi was schwitzing away, and okay, let me get back there. It's interesting. I don't know why Levi has moved down now 4 rows. I don't know exactly what happened over here on my screen. All right, let me get back. Is that crystal clear? Everybody said we go weiter? Crystal clear. Levi's cold. Yeah. Well, he's in Africa. Is it crystal clear? Everybody say? Why is my computer shaking over here? It does. Now everybody say. Now we start. Let's have fun. Rabbi Kranz, are you clear or not? For some reason, he's in the middle today. I don't know exactly what happened. Now, let me get weiter. Next. So this is the Indian Yad Nichbetz by. Does the I in the Sefer Halachos of Shabbos. I don't know what happened over here. He's so worried about Yad Nichbetz. I don't know what happened over here. Ein Sham. Later. Ein Sham. Should I read you what he says over here? I saw it today in the 57th hour. He says this chumrah of Yad Nichbetz is Husker ba poiskin linin klisheni and matavjul amayim should be klisheni chamin b'mida that it's Yad Nichbetz. Harizim evajel l'chein ein litain divrei Michael bilti mevushalim imucham oid b'shir Yad Nichbetz ulefi chumrazu ein litain b'ktoi klisheni Yad Nichbetz by afilu dvarim that are ein kalim l'spashal. So that you never saw in the Mishnah Berurah. And the Chayodim. They were only discussing it klape things that are already kalei levashal. We never saw any sefer that said on something that is not kal levashal. We never saw, not the Mishnah Berurah, not the Chayodim, not any sefer that ever said that when you have something that's not kal levashal, don't put it inside Yad Nichbetz. The only time they ever spoke this chumrah was on something that's kalavashal, which you're anyways machmir and a klisheni, but here you better be machmir. It's not just a chumrah. We never saw on water that Chazal were megala to us is not mevashal. We never saw anybody being machmir. You know what, Lamaisa, I don't think you even have to say it as a chumrah. We never saw anyone that said it. The Chayodim himself, all he said was that then you definitely have to worry about it. About what? About garlic, about onion. But nobody ever was machmir about water and about oil in a klisheni, even if it's Yad Nichbetz by. So the halacha is you do not have to be machmir on water in a klisheni, even when it's Yad Nichbetz by. There's no such thing. The lashon over here is incorrect. It says his lashon is ein litain divrei Michael imucham oid b'shir Yad. Even if it's not kalavashal. Where did he get this from? The gam ain't bezech shashal mechsi, okay? Ukegoyin mayim v'shemen v'tavlin. Why? Shekevin she'ad nichas v'yesh Halachos of Bishul. And then he brings the Chazon Ish. Said that we can't be Mashayer. Who knows the difference between Yad Tzaledis by and Yad Nichbetz by? L'chein ein litain b'kol klisheni dvarim bilti mushalim. So therefore, you should never put it in. It's a very, very big chumrah over here. The Chazon Ish himself said that this whole entire din is not musker in the Paiskim. So to bring the Chazon Ish's chumrah, when the Chazon Ish himself said not to care about Yad Nichves by this Rabbi say, he says upgefrekt minei Rabbi. So Halacha l'Maisa, let's make this very clear because he's right. Rabbi Slansky is pointing out that all the kids from they make a big deal of it. I don't know what happened over here. I don't know. All I know is that if you look in the Mishabura and you look in the Chayadam, all you see is it's another warning on a stronger warning against Kalei Bishul, which everybody over here, Erev Chayidin, are anyways going to be machmir on. You guys were all going to be machmir on Kalei Bishul anyways, because you don't know what's Kalei Bishul, and therefore we're machmir on everything. And now he's giving you a stern warning that even on things which are generally Kalei Bishul that we're machmir here, don't pat yourself on the back and say you're being machmir. You better do it, because now you have to worry that it's even a real be'emes of Kalei Bishul, but not on things that aren't Kalei Bishul, number one, and number two, certainly not in a Kli Shlishi, and therefore behachi nachtinan v'salkinan, this kimat no nafkamina for us in a Yad Nichves. And with that, Rabbi say is doch nifla ad lemeoid. It was Misyashev the Goyin HaGadol Rav Moshe Zeichet Tzadik Livracha. Who remembers the question we asked on the Goyin HaGadol? What was the question, Levi? Should I tell them? What was the question we asked on Rav Moshe Feinstein? Rav Moshe Feinstein said, and you all remember now, we asked the kasha on the Goyin. Rav Moshe says, we want to know, what's the minig about Yad Nichves? You remember they asked this question to Goyin Rav Moshe? And Rav Moshe said something, and I said back then, and I asked and begged Mechila from Rav Moshe Feinstein. We said Rav Moshe says something difficult, and I'm begging in awe and trepidation from the Goyin Rav Moshe that I didn't spend the time to think what is it that Rav Moshe means, because it just seems strange to me. And now you see how emes dikt Moshe emes v'toy rasai emes. Moshe Feinstein says over here, do we chayshish for the chayadam of Yad Nichves? Are we chayshish for Yad Nichves? And Rav Moshe says, it's not shaykh to know a minig on this. Why? Because we're machmer anyways on a cliche on every single thing. So therefore, it's not matzi lanu ladina. So we asked on Rav Moshe, Rabbi Feinstein, what do you mean it's not negei l'maisa? What about water? What about oil? Now you understand, Goyin HaGadol Rav Moshe. No one ever was machmir on Yad Nichves when it came to water and oil. There is no pum fakert. When it came to water and oil, no one was machmir when it came in a Yad Nichves. The only time the Chayadam ever told us the chumrah of Yad Nichves was when you have Kalei Bishul anyways, and you're being machmir on Kalei Bishul. Here says the Chayadam, I'm warning you, you better be machmir if it's Yad Nichves. So they asked Rav Moshe, do we hold like the Chayadam's chumrah in Yad Nichves? So Rav Moshe, it's not shaykh to know, because since we anyways are machmir, most of us pat ourselves on the back and say, we don't put anything into a cliche even when it's Yad Tzaledes. So then we never put it even when it's Yad Tzaledes. So for sure we're not going to put it when it's Yad Nichves. So it's not shaykh to know a minig, says Rav Moshe. What are you going to ask on Rav Moshe? But what about water? The teretz is because no one in the world was ever machmir on water when it came to a Yad Nichves by. Is Dr. Moshe, maybe you're going to say Kli Shlishi. Dr. Moshe Kli Shlishi. It's not negeya. There's no Yad Nichves by in a Kli Shlishi. As a mela leika mitzias klal. Moshe emes, v'soy chasoy emes. 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 Let me get weiter. Al kapanim Rabbi side, ad kan Yad Nichves by. Is it crystal clear, Rabbi side? Crystal clear. Great. Now got the Rabbi Moshe. Murdik. Let me go. Is Rabbi side? The Maisa. We have to talk now about a davar gush. Davar gush, Rabbi side, is a chumrah. Let's see where we can apply this. Today I'm going to ask you an interesting question. You'll tell me what you think about the question, and I'm bothered a little bit over here. Let's just explain. We spoke already about the concept of a davar gush. Let's just give it names and faces. Davar gush means, and this is a concept, Rabbi say, which is extremely negeya in Hilchos, Yaredeya, kashrus in general. When you have something which is hot and it's no longer in a kli rishon, does it contain the heat and does it keep the heat wherever she goes? That's the concept of a davar gush. It's interesting that there's no Gemara about davar gush. The Gemara always talks about klisheni. Maybe you'll say they didn't have hot, solid foods in the time of the Gemara, but that's not true because the Gemara Pesachim and Daf Ayin Daled talks about a case of a hot, solid food. So they had hot, solid foods back then. But whatever the reason is, we know there's a shaila about a davar gush. What's the din of a davar gush? Does it retain the heat and therefore it would have a status of a kli rishon, or does it have the various kulas of a kli shleni and a kli shlishi, etc., etc.? So to make a long story short, you really have to start this shaila from Hilchos Kashrus, from Yeridea, because it all starts from Yeridea. If you're makel in Yeridea, then the shaila in Shabbos doesn't begin. Like we explained yesterday, that in Yeridea and Kashrus, if you're going to be makel on davar gush, it doesn't even have the ability to give off blias, because once it left its original kli rishon, it's no longer has that heat source. Certainly, it's not going to be able to be mavashal something else. So we have to start back one step. What's the din in Yeridea? So I must tell you, Rabbi Say, the Halachos of Ramah in Siman Tzadi Daled, he says, "Eina mavliya k'mayshar klisheni or davar av k'goyin chatichas baser." The like cover davar shu gush mi davar lach. There's no difference. Gam shenir le'nayim that roite v'sachas yoiser shemeres choy mi davar av. He wants to say the exact opposite. He says liquids, fakir, liquids keep the heat. Now this is a little bit difficult to understand, but that's what he says. Gam shenir le'nayim sheroite v'sachas keeps the heat. Interesting. He says that boiling hot soup stays hotter than a hot piping piece of potato cocoa. Is it true in Metzias? It's a big chiddush, no? What do you say? I don't know. That's what the Darkei Moshe says. I'll go upon him. But that's what he says. So the Darkei Moshe, the Ramah, says, the davar gush, don't worry about a davar gush. And this was the psak in Krakow of the great Rav of Krakow, Rav Yoel Serkis, the Rav of Krakow. And his son-in-law, the Taz, they paskin like this. They're not so concerned. Nafkamina is if you take a fleishik knife, let's say, no, milchik knife, excuse me, a ben yoimai milchik knife, and you go and cut a piece of boiling hot steak with it once it's left the oven and we put it onto a klisheni already, and you cut it, it's not going to take out the blias, and it's kosher. That's the psak of the Ramah. That was the psak of the Bach. That was the psak of the Taz. That was the psak of Rabbi Yonasan Eibshitz, the crazy placey. That was the psak of the Vilna Goyen in Vilna. And that's the psak till today of Achenu B'nei Asfaredim. That's the psak of the Orlet Tzion and Rav Avad Yosef. L'maisa. No one does these things l'chatchila anyways. We don't even take cold knives. We don't take Ben Yoimai knives. Anyways, the shaila is, was anybody more machmir on this? The Yam Shel Shloima was a bit more aggressive. The Shach says the words "Ein biyodi lachriya." I can't decide when it comes to the shaila of a davar gush. And our poisik in Yeridea generally is the Chachmas Adam. And he says, "Be'efsed meruba," you could be makel on the poiskim that there's no chilik between a davar gush and a klisheni is eina mavliya. That means that in Yeridea, to get the davar gush shaila through wasn't so easy. Many poiskim makel. The Shach is, we'll call it mesupik, we'll call it, and the Chachmas Adam says that don't be makel. Certainly the chatchila not even b'diavad unless it's a hefsid meruba. Okay, what's called a hefsid meruba? You're sitting at the table. This is dinner. The steak is talking to you. He's talking to you saying, eat me. Eat me. Is that a hefsid meruba? That's not called a hefsid meruba. It's time to go to a psychologist, Rabbi say. What's a hefsid meruba? Okay. A busha for the balabasta, we could talk. Okay. Darach HaShulchan says, you should know, I have a raya from Maisris. Oh, you guys had enough of Maisris? Ayin Sham. He has a raya from Maisris. He says he has a raya from Maisris that there's no way. He says there's no way that it's a davar gush is considered is considered a davar that's mavliya. He says my raya from Maisris is not a muchachtik raya. Listen closely, because at least it's a raya to one or two things. Either it's a raya that the Ramah is right and that davar gush is not an issue, or it's a raya that there's no problem of davar gush to be mavashal. One thing, it's a raya. Either it's a raya, there's no concept of davar gush at all, or it's at least the concept of Gabi Hilchos Shabbos that davar gush can't be mavashal. Is that crystal clear, Rabbi Say? Once you now have your idea, now we can start Shabbos. What's the din in Hilchos Shabbos when it comes? It should have been that what you should have seen over here in Hilchos Shabbos is that davar gush shouldn't have gotten such a respectable mention. If you see over there that the Ramah, the Goyin, the Taz, and all the poskim, at least b'di'evid, weren't so concerned with the davar gush. So then certainly in Hilchos Shabbos, which requires what? Bishul, we certainly shouldn't have been so concerned with the davar gush. Lemaisa, when you see over here in Hilchos Shabbos, you see not like that. Now it's true, if you're going to ask the Aruch HaShulchan, do you care about a davar gush? You are not going to get an answer in Hilchos Shabbos. He doesn't even bring it, which means you got your answer. He doesn't care about davar gush in Hilchos Shabbos. He didn't care about Yad Nichves. He didn't care so much about Klisheni Yisah. The only thing the Aruch HaShulchan worried about is coffee and tea. But Al Kapanim, when it came to Hilchos Shabbos, the Aruch HaShulchan, he doesn't even, why? The Aruch HaShulchan clearly doesn't care about davar gush, because the Aruch HaShulchan tells you, hooray, I have a raya from the Yerushalmi and Meisus. I'm sure you also have the raya in Parak Aleph and Halacha Daled, and that's a raya brura. He says to the Ramah, he says it's either a raya brura that davar gush does not give off blias and plitas, or it's at least a raya brura legabe bishul. But you have some kind of a raya over here. Either you have a raya to the Ramah, or you have a raya that it doesn't apply in Hilchos Shabbos and it can't be mavashal. That's the psak of the Aruch HaShulchan. And if I'm not mistaken, that's the psak of the Achenu Bnei Ha-Svardim. Ayin in the Orlatzian Chelek Beis, Perak Lamida Arav Tezvav, Ayin in Yabia Oimer and Orchain Siman Lamed Beis. The shaila is what about us Ashkenazim? What are we hold about a davar gush? So the Shach, we saw, wasn't so sure what to do, right? And over here, the Magen Avram and Sivkotin Memhei, and the Magen Avram, that's the Amid Oirah by us. He says, the poiskim in your Yeridea davar gush afilu b'klisheni mevashel. He says exact opposite of what I just told you. He says the poiskim over there tell you a davar gush. Not only is it mavliya, but it's mevashel. So how exactly the Magen Avram learned in Yeridea is a bit of a kasha, but it's the Magen Avram. And this is brought down by the Chayyadam and the Graz and the Mishnah Berurah in many places. This is not like Yad Nichves. Here, the Mishnah Berurah gives it a very respectable mention. In Tivkot the Memei, the Mishnah Berurah says, "Kol the klishein lefi ma shenoigim." Sorry, the kol shekein lefi ma shenoigim litein betzalam metoich hatav shel shu davar gush bevada yesh lizayer. The yesh paiskim shesayvim the davar gush the klishein is a kli rishon. Mishnah Berurah brings it again in Tivkot and Samechei. Imunach the klishein a davar gush shayat silent by yesh lizayer. The yesh poiskim shesayvim the davar gush calls man shayat silent by is a kli rishon. The Mishnah Berurah again in Tivkot in Kuf Yud Ches. I think it was in Kuf Yud Ches. Here, calls Manchu Resayach Hayat Saledis by Osir Latuakala, Vafilu Miniach Kaira, Gamze Kama Poiskim hold it to davar gush. He reminds you this over and over and over again. He reminds you about a davar gush. Mishnah Berurah is certainly concerned with the davar gush in Hilchos Shabbos. Would he answer it b'di'evid? So for sure not going to answer b'di'evid. We saw we don't answer even klishenis b'di'evid. We don't answer these things b'di'evid. But Al-Kapanim certainly, and that the Mishnah Berurah says mefurish in Kuf Yud Ches, we're not machmer on a davar gush b'di'evid, but certainly you can't take an uncooked, I guess it'll be negaya, some uncooked we'll see in a minute, some interesting cases, right? But you want to take something uncooked and put it on a boiling hot piece of a potato kugel or something like that. So Mishnah Berurah tells you, even though now it's in a it's on a plate, so you have to be machmer. What's a good example before we get to bread and matzah, etc.? Give me a good example of something that you're going to put on a piece of boiling hot potato kugel. A pickle. So we have to get to yena pickle. But give me another, a pepper. I was thinking something a little bit more normal, like chrein. Right? That's a normal example. You like you used to buy in the pizza store in Williamsburg, over there on Wythe Avenue. Who remembers? No, see, where are you? Over there, right off the BQE Darton, you know what I'm talking about. Right by the bridge over there. And that pizza store over there, you remember, Davi? They sold, I don't know if they're still there, they had potato kugel piping hot, and used to put on it chrein if you were normal. And that was a Tam Ganedim Gevainlich. I think that was the name of the pizza store. Akapanim, this would be a serious issue on Shabbos. That piece of piping hot potato kugel, you take out of off the hot plate, boiling hot. You put on a chrein. The chrein is uncooked, and now not only that, chrein is a little bit spicy, a little bit sharp, and now that l'chayra is going to cook the chrein, and that's something you do have to be machmer on. There are no games. There are rules. Is that crystal clear, Rabbi Isai? You certainly have to know. What happens if before you could stop the balabasta, she put the chrein already on the potato kugel, so now you eat it because b'di'evid, it's kosher. Now take off the chrein miyad because it takes time to cook, right? But I'll go put him. You're allowed to eat it. Rabbi Isai, the Maisa, That's what comes out. That's what we are machmir on the chatchila. Are we machmir even in a klishlishi? I have a raya from Hilchos Pesach Grada when we learned over here in the Koil, and don't think I forgot. We still didn't make a siyam on Chelik Hay of the Mishnah Berurah because we didn't do Tov Tzadi Dalid, which is the statement of Shavuos, but it's coming B'li Neder Bez Hashem. There are no games. Don't think I forgot. When it comes to Hilchos Pesach, the Mishnah Berurah and Siman Tov Mem Zayin in the beginning over there, I don't remember where. Where's Mishpura? Where's Prashberger? I have a greenhouse. Where is it? Where's that Mishpura again? Gil Mayer, where's the Mishpura? Oh, here she is. Ein lo sivkat and chavdalid. Sphere like cliche game bekoyach laf litilafria. Because in your day, they're worried about it being cliche. The efsher who adin, if you went from a ka'ira to a teller. What's a teller? You went from a cliche to even a cliche. The Mishnah Berurah has it sad that you have to worry about this chumrah of a davar gush, even when you go from a kaira to a plate, dainu from one kli to the next kli, dainu davar gush retains the heat, and we're certainly machmer on this, certainly the chatchila, and this seems to be a chumrah which is very bothersome, troublesome to the Mishnah Berurah. Now, halacha l'maaseh, how does this play itself out besides in a piece of boiling hot potato kugel? So, I have a few cases here that I'd like to discuss. Number one is that a lot of times you have a cholent, and what's a cholent? Is a cholent a davar gush? What do I mean? Rabbi say, a cholent has a lot of, let's say it's a solid cholent, which a lot of the liquid has bubbled out already, and it's piping hot and boiling hot. That would be a davar gush. Okay. In other words, you have only that thing that's left are the meat, the potatoes, some barley, no liquid. So then this thing is a piping hot davar gush, and now it retains its heat. It's not affected anymore. The way it works is the plate or the klisheni usually goes through the liquid, cools down the liquid, which inevitably the liquid goes through the meat and it cools down the meat also. You don't have that by a piping hot cholent. So that'd be a good example. You know, you'll take the cholent and you'll put it on your plate. It'll still have a din of a kli rishon, and it'll have all the chumras of a kli rishon. That means that l'chatchila, you're not supposed to put her next to the coleslaw, right? You're not supposed to put her next to the other things. Okay, we'll see in a minute if there's a limit close, but that's the idea. I wanted to ask the oilam, what about if you have a cholent, which is liquidy, right? You have a cholent, which is liquidy. The fellows inside the cholent, the little meat guy, the little potato lach, the little kartoffelach that are inside the cholent, which is a liquidy cholent, do we say now that this is all one big liquid, and therefore even the davar gushes inside have a din of a liquid, and therefore they are, yes, affected by the wall? Or do we say no? We say no. The liquid itself has a din of a klisheni, but the potato, he retains his heat. So this is very interesting. In Yoredeya, there's a Pischei Tshuva. I'm not going to read you from the Pischei Tshuva. The Pischei Tshuva over there in Siman Tzadi Daled, Sivkat and Zion, he has somewhat of a kula. It brings you, I think over there, I don't have it over here. It's a Seilas Mincha, I think you bring that. I do have it. 1 minute. Tzadi Daled Zion. I don't know how these work. These are like the new ones. 1 second, I gotta get the old one. 1 minute. This is a Shulchan Aruch. Hard to read, bad for the eyes, bad print, mistakes. This is what Shulchan Aruch is supposed to look like. Over here, in Tzadi Daled Zion, the Pischei Tshuva brings down Silas Mincha, I think she was. Here. Ayin Seilis Lemincha Klauch of Gimel Shekasav Shavatoyas Ha'oshin Herich La'achzik the Marshal about a Dover Gush. Ach Mechalek De'echa She'iru HaBasar Ima Roitiv Toicha Klisheni. When you take the cholent and you pour it in with its liquid, as miskarer gama basar al yedei haroitiv shemekarer v'soiviv habasar mikol stadim ayin sham. The Stipler once said that a pischei tshuva on the page, that's a psak, and therefore a kanadel in the soup is going to be considered not to be a davar gush. And this is tremendous nafkamina, right? Because that means that when you have the soup and you put the soup into the bowl and you assume that the ladle has a din of a klisheni and the male of the bowl is now a klishlishi. So if you this, you'll be allowed to put your breadcrumbs in. And you don't have to worry that maybe the breadcrumb, she's being baked up by the davar gush. You're not going to have to worry because the kanadel in the soup is still going to have a din, also going to have a din of a klishlishi. And therefore, this is something you could be saimach on. And this Rabbi say, what I wanted to read you from the Ksav Sofer in Chulin and Daf Kuf Daled. He says first just like that. He says that which we're saying that a klisheni doesn't cool it down by a gush, that's when there's no roitiv. But when there's roitiv, then it's niskarit, and it's niskarit the chaticha, because like I explained before, the liquid cuts affected by the wall, and then the cold liquid is now going into the product, into the basar, into the kanadel, into the meat, and therefore it's cooling it down, and that is what we're saying on. I did see some svarim that are machmer on this. I don't know. I don't see why you should be machmer on this, especially when davar gush in the first place. Even in your day is a chumrah. Certainly in Hilchos Shabbos it's a chumrah, and certainly now it's a double whammy once you have this ksav sofer. So then there's a makim to be makel even lechatchila, l'chayra. Now lemaisa, what's enough gemina of this shaila? About 2 or 3 cases that we should talk about. Right? One case is, so again, this is negay. You have the cholent, and the cholent has liquid, right? So now, how much liquid? That's what I see everybody's asking me. That's a very good question, because, you have a cholent. It has a tiny bit of juice. Okay, so then obviously that tiny bit of juice is not going throughout the cholent and affecting all the cholent, right? But if it's a juicy cholent, then for sure there's a makim to be makel on this. A soup and a kanadel, for sure you could be makel. If it's tiny little bits of droplets, you can't be makel. I don't know if it's roiv or not. Rabbi Batchkin is asking me if it's roiv or not. It's not so clear if it's roiv or not, but let's see first where the case applies before we try to apply the kulas. Let's see where the place applies. Like, for example, Rabbi Say, we saw that the Igris Moshe, he asked the Shaila, what if you have ketchup, right? Ketchup that Rabbi Moshe said in Yiddish, ketchup, right? Says Rabbi Moshe, what's the din of when you have ketchup and you want to put ketchup on your potato kugel? So Rabbi Moshe went that ketchup is not a bishul of a davar yavish, meaning even thick ketchup Rabbi Moshe held was a liquid, at least in these halachas. And therefore, Rabbi Moshe Dan, could I put a liquid ketchup, which was previously cooked, onto a piece of potato kugel? Rabbi Moshe was makel. Rabbi Moshe was makel not because he held that ketchup is considered ein bishul achar bishul but davar yavish. No, ketchup is a davar lach, and ketchup is considered, yes, you could have bishul again. And according to Rabbi Moshe, if you take ketchup and put it inside a silver upside down pan on the hot plate, then that's a problem of bishul, because yesh bishul achar bishul but davar lach. But says Rabbi Moshe, the reason I'm makel, you could put it on a piece of boiling up potato kugel, is because 2 chumras we don't put together. Yesh bishul achar bishul but davar lach is a chumrah. Davar gush is a chumrah. Those 2 chumras we don't put together. That was the goyin of Moshe. Now I saw that some achreinim, they ask, the Mishabru is not like this, and they miyashiv. I saw the Orcha Shabbos in Perak Aleph Arkov Memches. He says that the Mishabru is not like this. Which Mishabru? We spoke about this back then. The Mishabru has a case, excuse me, that the Mogen Avram brings down in Tzivkot Lamed Hey. We spoke about this back then. If you take a piece of boiling hot meat and you put it on the gravy, remember we spoke about this, you take a boiling hot piece of meat and you put it on the gravy. So the Mishabura brings down from the Mogen Avram that that's a problem, because you're cooking the droplets on the outside layer of that from that gravy, from that piece of meat, the piece of meat that's boiling up, and you put it onto the gravy. So l'chayr, that's a problem. So they ask a kasher, Moshe is not like this. Hooray, over here it's ein bishul achar bishul b'davar lach plus davar gush, 2 chumras together. We're not machmir. That's the kasha they ask. Now the truth is, We answered back then, and a Hanami. Ramosha argues on that Mishnah Berurah, because Ramosha l'shitaso held ein bishul achar bishul is a chumrah. Mashenk in the Mishnah Berurah l'shitaso held ein bishul achar bishul b'davar lach is not a chumrah. So I don't know if it bothers me to say that Ramosha would argue over there also, and I'm not troubled at all. They or Shabbos wants to say a teretz. He says that no, over here it could be the Mishnah Berurah agreed to Rav Moshe, but here is worse. Why? Because the case of the Mishnah Berurah is that you're taking the meat, let's say the boiling hot piece of potato kugel, before it touched the kli. Before it touches the kli, so now it never got cooled down at all, and therefore this is like an irui. This is an irui, just like when you have an irui coming from a kli rishon that's stronger. So this is an irui coming from a kli rishon, and that will, yes, cook at least the kedei klipa. Now, therefore, they want to say, if you have a piece of potato kugel and you put the potato kugel on, that's under the ketchup, that's worse. If you'll take a piece of boiling hot potato kugel and put it onto the ketchup, that's worse. Because here you're doing an irui of a, don't take peglei, it's davar gush. Take peglei, it's an irui from a kli rishon. This Rabbi say, it's an interesting teretz. I don't believe it's true. First of all, it's not true. Ramosha anyways argues on the Mishnah Berurah. So it's not really true. That's first of all. Ramosha holds that ein b'shul achar bishul is a chumrah, and therefore Ramosha wouldn't be machmir in either of these cases. Number one. Number two, it's Rabbi say, it's a nitzuk. It's a nitzuk. It's not a nitzuk anymore. We don't have a continuous iroi. It's an iroi that already was nifsak kiluach. It already split off its kiluach. Number three is Ramosha just says ketchup, potato kugel. He doesn't differentiate. He better tell you, don't put the potato kugel onto the ketchup, only put the ketchup onto the potato kugel. I don't know. It's a nice shtickle Torah, but it's not the halacha l'maisa. Halacha l'maisa, if you want to be machmir like the Mishnah Berurah, then you're machmir like the Mishnah Berurah. If you want to be maker like Rav Moshe, there's a ganz fine makom to be maker like the Mishnah, like Rav Moshe in both cases, because in general, davar gush is a chumrah, together with bishul achar bishul, which is a shaila. If it's a chumrah, there certainly is a makom to be maker lemaisa, to put the potato kugel even onto the ketchup. I guess miyos toiv, why be ra? What's the big deal? If it doesn't hurt, just take the ketchup and put it onto the potato kugel, and no harm done. That's number two. Number three is what the oilam was asking me before about putting cholent next to coleslaw and putting cholent next to, and let's say it's a cholent, which is a davar gush tik a cholent, okay, a real fiery hot cholent, putting a cholent or putting a piece of Yushami kugel, which is boiling hot, and putting the pickle right on top of her. You put that pickle right on top of the Yushami kugel, and it's boiling hot. So now the chayra, that's a davar gush, and it's an uncooked product. So chayra, that's mamish the chumrah of davar gush, and the chayra, it's a problem. Right? The chayra, it's a problem. And this is one of those like Yushalmi kashas, this is like one of those Yushalmi questions. Like if you're Yushalmi, this is part of like, the Vorspiel. This is part of the, it's like one of those real Yushalmi zachen. Like, how do you have the Americans say, how do you have the coleslaw next to the cholent? I mean, that's how you say it in American language, I suppose, because the cholent is again, I'm talking only about a cholent, which is a davar gush, which we saw today. There might be coolers if it's a lot of liquid in there. Maybe it won't be a davar gush. But I'll go upon him. Let's talk about the ones which are boiling hot piece of potato kugel, and you put onto it a pickle. So l'chayra, and there's a sefer Mora Shabbos who is written by a Yerushalmi Jew, and this is what Yerushalmi Jews love talking about. And Yerushalmi Jews love asking these questions too. Gedolei Ador and Gedolei Ador of Yerushalmi nature love these questions. And Devin Yisrael, Dayan Fisher, he said, yeah, it's a problem. He asked Rav Yashiv, and Rav Yashiv over here, this is all in Siman Vav of the Mora Shabbos, said, yeah, you shouldn't do it. This makes sense. Look, this is the pashtus. The Mora Shabbos went to Bnei Brak. He didn't just defice with Yerushalmis. He first went to the Yerushalmis. Then he went to Bnei Brak to go to the Chassidisha. He went to the Shevet Halevi. The Shevet Halevi said, yeah, you can't put a pickle over there. It's a davar gush. Yeah, that's a problem, right? And the Shiloh went all the way to Bnei Brak. And there's a sefer called the Amekache Shvi, where he has a lot of questions he asked over there to Chaim Kanievsky, so sein gesund and stark. And Chaim Kanievsky said, a lot that we're machmer on this. Of course, we're very nervous about this, right? And just in case you don't know what a malafafon chamutz is, because a malafafon chamutz is in Hebrew, and you don't understand Yerushalayim Yidden. So there's a sefer written by Chassidish Yid. His name is the Nishmas Shabbos of Harpenis. And in our Siman, he writes, Hayoisha pickle. Pei Yud Kuf Ayin Lamed. Loinis Bashel Yesh Lesser. You can't put her in a klisheni. On what? On kugel. You can't put pickle on kugel. But he says not to be moicha on those that are machmir. Makel, excuse me. What's the pshat? So the Shmir Shabbos Hilchos. So that I told you is like old Yerushalmi stuff for Baisai. There's nothing Kallus could add like this. Maybe a little mashu, but this is old Yerushalayim Azach and Rabbi Baisai. In Shmir Shabbos Hilchos, in the first volume, in the first parak, in the 201st Ha'ara, he discusses this Shabbos. The more Shabbos brings it down, and he says, no, Yerushalayim Yidden, they do it. They put Yerushalmi kugel out, mita pickle, don't cause problems, because this is going to cause shalom bayis problems. You're going to have a Yerushalayim Meidel. She's going to come. She's going to serve her husband Yerushalayim a kugel, and she's going to put on top of it a pickle. He's going to say to her, no, Shabbos, and he's going to move it up. She's going to Shabbos, man Tate Anshel Tazaigatin, and my mama Tazaigatin, and man Zaida Tazaigatin, and all 17 of my brothers do it, and all 395 of my first cousins do it. Right? You're causing shalom bayis problems, said Goyim Rishleim Zalman Orbach. So said Rishleim Zalman Orbach, no. First of all, you know what I'm about to do, Rabbi Isai. It's a secret. You wanted to cook? You wanted to cook the pickle? And it's an Eina Miskavin. And Davar Gush is a Chumrah. And it's a kilkel. You think it makes it taste better? A pickle that's cooked is a better. It's a kilkel. And he says it's a misastic. And it's shalom bayis. Isai B'sai, B'shalem Zalman said, no. Secret. And I'll be moisif another thing. You know, it takes time to cook, Rabbi Isai. These Yerushalmis, when they get the Yerushalmi kugel with the pickle, look, you know, it's Mala Yehudim, and you eat it so fast it doesn't have time to be mavashal. So all that together, and they want to say that there's a makim to be makel. I don't know. Why should you do it lechatchila if it's not going to cause you shalom bayis problems? So why should you do it lechatchila? I don't know. But I'm not going to be moicha if somebody does it, for sure not. I'm not going to be moicha if somebody does it. But I don't know. Why should you do it lechatchila? And you know, I don't know. Avada, if you put together that you have a cholent that you're not sure if she is liquidy anyways, and maybe you have yenekula that we said that it doesn't have a din of a davar gush in the first place. Oh, then it's another reason to be makel. Rabbi say, let me be Messiah with one last shaila, and this is something which I don't fully understand. I don't know. In the Shulchan Shleima, he brings down another case. I don't know. He brings down a case like this in the 29th, and in the Ha'ara on the 29th Siv Katan. I don't know. He brings down over there like this. I'll read it to you. He says, you have on your plate breadcrumbs. Yeah, breadcrumbs on your plate. Is that a normal thing to have breadcrumbs on your plate, Davi? That's a normal thing because you just had challah, and right, that's how it goes. That's like ate those, right? So now you have breadcrumbs on the plate, right? No. So what are you gonna do? Come to cholent. You take the cholent and you put it onto where? Onto the breadcrumbs. He says, we don't find too many people just taking the plate and wiping off the breadcrumbs, right? It's true that Nussi Samuels does, and he wants us all to know about that, right? But not everybody does. So he says, ain't sarich lahachmir l'noyer the pirei lechem from the tzalaches before you put on the cholent. It's yad lettuce and the cholent is piping hot. He says, why? So he starts saying the same rate again. Ain't kavanas bishul, and it's a chumrah that it's mevashel in the klisheni mitzad davar gush, and he says maybe it's only bishul achar afiyah. It's only bishul achar afiyah, and the mela to chumrah yisera. I was reading this and I realized I don't understand what the shaila is. Let's try and work out. I think memon of shach it's mutter, and I don't understand the shaila because you see, if the heter is going to be because adding these chumras together, psikrashas and davar gush is a chumrah. You see, I didn't love that so much when it came to the Yerushalmi shalom bayis problem and all that. I wasn't so into that. You know me. But Rabbi say over here, I don't understand the shaila. Rabbi say memon of shach it has to be mutter. What's the case of breadcrumbs on the plate and the cholent? Let's try and work this out. I'm putting my ladle into the cholent and I'm taking out cholent. Rabbi say that cholent, is that a klisheni? Is that it? What is that? So I have cholent in a ladle and I'm putting it into the plate. So it's a kli shlishi now. Well, it depends. If there's liquid in the cholent, So then it's a kli shlishi, right? Elamai, why are you concerned? Because there's no liquid in the cholent. So then you're concerned that it's a davar gush, correct? That's the issue. Rabbi said, then I don't understand. If you're dealing with a liquidy cholent, so then it's a liquid. If it's a liquidy cholent, when I take a liquidy cholent and I put it onto the breadcrumbs, so then we saw we don't machmir bread in a kli shlishi once it was done even by a ladle. Elamai, no, he's worried because the cholent is dry. Rabbi say, if the cholent is dry, so then there's no bishul, just like it's dry, so then the cholent is just a heat source. If the cholent is dry, what are you doing? You're baking the bread. If you're baking the bread, ein afiyah achar afiyah, and then it's mutter gomer. So then memanashach it's mutter. Memanashach, when you take cholent in a ladle and put it onto the plate with the breadcrumbs, memanashach it's mutter. What are you worried about? Davar gush? Berega, you tell me it's a davar gush. It's because you're telling me that what? That it's a piping hot item and it's not a liquid. If it's a piping hot item and it's not a liquid, so then what? So then it's just a heat source. So then what are you doing? You're heating up bread. If you're heating up bread, that's ein afiyah achar afiyah. Elamai, no, you're worried because it's liquid. If it's liquid, so then it gets affected by the ladle. Once it gets affected by the ladle, that's ein Elamai. You want to say yesh bishul achar afiyah, but not in a kli shlishi. Like b'zayra, b'isai l'chayr it's checkmate. L'chayr it's checkmate. Rabbi Adler, is that crystal clear? L'chayr it's checkmate. L'chayr, you put it all together, you can't move. It's you can't move. L'chayr. Is that it, l'chayr? L'chayr? What do you say? Thumbs up or not? What do you say? I ran this cheshbon past Rabbi Yitzchak. He also agreed to the cheshbon. Rabbi say, Rabbi Katzman, do I have 5 minutes to say chizik to my yedidim?
13 minutes.
13 minutes. So Rabbi say, let's get right to work. Make it a separate recording, Danny.
Already been done.
Is Rabbi say, we're starting Parshas Bamidbar, and actually I should invite the Chevra Torah Anytime. I welcome all the guests back from Torah Anytime. Is Rabbi say, we're starting Parshas Bamidbar, we're starting the Sefer Bamidbar, and there's something here in Bamidbar which is very interesting. Chazal tell us that over here it says in the pasuk, "Vaydaber Hashem al Moshe Leimar b'Midbar Sinai." We say hundreds and hundreds of other times in the Torah it says the words "Vaydaber Hashem al Moshe Leimar," and it never says b'Midbar Sinai. Why over here, Dafka? We know obviously where was Moshe spoken to? B'Midbar Sinai. Already Hashem had spoken to Moshe many times in Midbar Sinai. What's the start of Parshas Bamidbar? So Chazal tell us this comes Dafka before Shavuos. And it comes to teach us that the Torah is nicknamed by someone who makes himself into a midbar. And you've all heard many shmuzim your whole life that what does it mean? You're only kind of Torah if you make yourself a midbar. It has to do with anivis and shiftless. It's not my style. I'm going to say a little drush. This is the thought that came to my head. It's not my style. But what should I tell you? The Torah is only nicknamed by someone who makes himself into a midbar. What does it mean? Does anybody here know what a midbar is? And does anybody understand why specifically now, Sefer Bamidbar, we want you to get this message? And also because before Shavuos, what's this Indian Rabbi say that the Torah is nicknamed by someone who makes himself into a midbar? Is Rabbi say, let me explain to you what is Sefer Bamidbar. We know that the last Sefer of Vayikra was all the mitzvahs, Zroyim and Kodshim, and Chesed Mishpat at the end we had, and Shabbos, and Yontif, and all the mitzvahs. And Dvarim is also mitzvahs and mitzvahs. It's the chazara of all the mitzvahs, Parshas Kiseitze, and going into Eretz Yisrael. And over here, then, of course, the tachlis of Parshas Bereishis is to get the foundation of the Avos, and the Parshas of Shmois are to understand Yetzias Mitzrayim culminating in the Mishkan, and the tachlis of all Yitzia is to come closer to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. What's Bamidbar? Bamidbar is not so many mitzvahs, not many mitzvahs at all. Bamidbar is really not a foundation of Avis. It's not the Giloi of the Shechina in the Mishkan, and it's not so much with the mitzvahs. What is Bamidbar? Bamidbar is the stories that took place in the Midbar. The transition period of Klal Yisrael when they were going from Mitzrayim, becoming the Am HaNivchar, Matan Torah, and going now into Eretz Yisrael. It's the transition, the 40 years in the Midbar. What were the 40 years in the Midbar, Rabbi Isai? There was nobody screaming in those 40 years in the Midbar, why are there so many people learning in Kollel? Because everybody was learning in Kollel. In the 40 years in the Midbar, that's what it was. It was all you did was you learned Torah, you didn't work, you didn't do anything else. All you did all day was Emunah, Bitachon, Limud Torah, and nothing else. You didn't go out, you didn't buy clothing, you didn't shop online, Rabbi Isai. You did nothing except for what? Learn Torah, be Miskarev to Kosh Baruch Hu. Midbar was a transition from when Klal Yisrael became Am HaNivcher until they went into Eretz Yisrael. And all the stories that went in, and that's why you have the Maisim with Ben Adam L'Chaveiroi, whether it was Miraglim, Lashon Hara, Ben Adam L'Makim, and Machlokes, all the different inyanim that are there for us to learn about the opportunity of a time period of transition. Transition time is a time period of tremendous opportunity, tremendous capability of coming to something greater. Klal Yisrael, we're learning Torah in the Midbar. Victor Miller used to say, all the bitachon that we have today and all the ava of Torah we have today was of that 40-year training camp in the Midbar where they just sat and learned, where they sat and steiged and they had all this bitachon. And that's what you did. And that transition, the whole Sefer by Midbar is to teach us that one lesson, to not just let the transition period go by and to accomplish in that time period. And the stories of Bamidbar are stories of sometimes lost opportunities and sometimes the opposite, stories of tremendous accomplishment. And the idea is to teach us that in this time period in the Midbar, to take advantage. Transition period is not just a situation, just let's get out of this. Let's just get out of this as fast as possible. No, the Midbar wasn't let's just get out of this and get to Eretz Yisrael. No. There's a tremendous amount of opportunity over here. All the Torah that they learned in the Midbar is today expressed in us in a tremendous ava for Torah. All of the bitachon that they worked on every day, yoim, that they had to have bitachon, that's where we are today with the moon and bitachon. As a Baisai, first of all, that's what it's teaching us over here. Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe b'midbar Sinai, the Torah, it will only be nicknamed by somebody who makes himself a midbar. What does it mean, make himself a midbar? There are certain situations in our life which are transition periods. And we think we just got to get out of here, and that's a mistake. That is where the person's foundation is built upon. The foundation of the person is built upon those transition situations of where he's just trying to get out of it. No. That's the point where you're supposed to steig and you're supposed to gain something and you're supposed to come out of the situation better, bigger, more Muna, more Torah. And that's what it is. That's why it's Dafka the week before Shavuos. And that's the message of the whole Sefer Bamidbar Abaisai. It's a Baisai. To us, the message has to be clear. What are we? We're in the most transition period of everybody in this entire Oilam's lives. A situation where everybody's thinking one thing. I just got to get out of this already. This was the Midbar. No shopping, no work, no nothing. Just what? The whole time being Saimich on the Rebbeinu Shalom for my health, for my parnasa, for my mental sanity, my emotional state of being. And it's not a time to be thinking, I got to just get out of this. A transition period is a time that a person has to think to himself, I must make sure that in this time period I accomplish in my bitachon, I accomplish in my limud Torah, I accomplish in my ben adam l'chaver, in my marriage. I have to make sure in this time period to work on my marriage. Not just let's get out of this. No, the Sefer Bamidbar is a tremendous limud that the time period of transition is not just get out of this. That's when the person steigs, when the situation is midbar, difficult. In that situation where he thinks, no, it's not really. This is not what life is. Life is the next step of life. No, in that situation where the difficult matziv, you have to steig in bitachon and limud Torah and everything therein, Rabbi Isai. And that's why it's a prerequisite for Torah, because this is when the Rebbeinu Shalom gives you the awesome capability to come out of the situations that'll give you a foundation for the rest of your life, the difficult situations. And then you'll grow a greater person in bitachon and limud Torah and v'chulei. I tell you, Rabbi Isai, you all know that I didn't leave my house for 8 weeks. Last night was the first time I left. I left my house for the first time and I went to the Kaisel. The last time before I left my house was the last time really mamish ever in 8 weeks was Slonim. I gave the shir in Slonim. I came home and since then I haven't left. I went to the garbage, but that was the extent. I mean, to properly leave, the last time was the shir I gave in Slonim. And from that day, I haven't left in 8 weeks. last night I went to the Kaisel, and it's I don't know if I'm still holding by Corona. I'm not sure if maybe I'm in denial. But in Eretz Yisrael, the Hergish of Iyar is that they're basically trying to see, is Corona over? That's what they're trying to basically see. And I'm still somewhat in denial, and I want to just maybe wait another few days. But the Kaisel, the walnut. So I said, look, I'll go. I took with my mask, and I went to the Kaisel. And I stayed far away from everybody because I'm still in denial. And the Kaisel is all split up into all different compartment lach and everything. And I saw a minyan davening. I went over there. I didn't go to where the minyan is. I stood outside, but I was watching from the minyan, and I became a part of their minyan. And that was my experience at the Kaisel. When I was at the Kaisel, I started to cry. And I was trying to, afterward, try to place what were the tears. I was trying to place, what is it? Is it so much suffering that people suffered and are still suffering? Is it maybe over emotional, not having been by the Kaisel in so long? And I was mamish bawling, and I couldn't place it. What is it? Is it there are people that had suffered so much suffering and still suffering? What is it exactly? Is it the Tsar Shechina, that there was so much Tsar Shechina, the Rebbeinu Shalom missed so many Yeheshmei Rabbis, and the Klal Yisrael missed laning? It was so much. There was I was trying to place it, and then there was a little part of me that I'm going to say something which is a little bit maybe aggressive, especially for people that are still suffering with Corona, but it's something you need to hear, Rabbi Say. There was a part of me that was crying because Corona is over. And I don't mean chas v'chalila. We beg the Rebbeinu Shalom to end the Mageif every day. That's chas v'chalila. What I mean is that there's a part of me that said, it's over, and you could have accomplished so much more. Because that time period when there's suffering and there's a closeness between you and the Rebbeinu Shalom, there's a mucking to work more on your marriage. There's a mucking to work more on the Benam and Chaveiro, your connection to Torah, your connection to Reim, to other friends. And Avada, we beg the Rebbeinu Shalom to end it everywhere in the world. So you have to hear what I'm saying with a grain of salt. For those that are still in the matziv, remember the day after you're going to cry that it's over, because there was so much that you could have accomplished. There's so much you could have accomplished. We beg the Rebbeinu Shalom to end it everywhere in the world. Halavai v'halavai. But remember, when you're in it right now, there's so much that you can accomplish in this matziv right now. In your dveikis to a transition period is not just let me get out of here as fast as possible. It's a time that a person has to steig. It's a midbar. And when you come out of it, it'll give you a foundation, bitachon, emunah, better relationships. And that's something that you're going to cherish, Rabbi Say. You're going to cherish. Again, Shabbos, tomorrow, 4:30. 5 o'clock, you guys, right? 5 o'clock. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 5 o'clock, for a short chizik. There's Hashem. Hashem should help you get out of this matziv. Beggar people, better people, the car of mamish. Kol tuv, Rabbi Say.
Amen. Shkach Rabbi, turn it off. I'm sorry.
Kol tuv.